watching Sky Sports.
Current TV. Share your world.
This week, IndyCar arrives at the home of the Kentucky Derby, with the title fight looking increasingly like a three-horse race.
We've talked about it all weekend. Scott Dixon is the Burgermeister.
As he heads for the stripe, it's Dario Franchitti winning here at Iowa.
Ryan Briscoe wins the opening event of the 2009 season.
Elio Castroneves isn't ready to give up hope just yet, whilst Penske teammate Will Power arrives fresh from his success in Edmonton. Will it be victory for one of the stable favourites again? Or will an outsider romp home? In round 12, the drivers will battle it out for 300 miles under the lights of Kentucky Speedway. We're at the Meijer Indy 300. Yes, the IndyCar drivers will tackle the high-speed oval at Kentucky, and to add to the excitement, the teams will now have aerodynamic options at their disposal, including a push-to-pass button, which really should provide some great side-by-side racing, plus, of course, overtaking opportunities. Persistent weepers, though, on the track from more than 6 inches of rain this week forced cancellation of qualifying, so the starting grid was set by entrant points, with Target Chip Ganassi Racing teammates Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti side-by-side on the front row. Well, joining me for the race are racing driver Piers Maserati and US racing expert Christopher Tate. We are now going to go to the track because the action is just about to get underway. Let's join our colleagues in America at Kentucky, and we're underway.
That's the prerogative of the pole position, guys. Stand on it, and everybody else has to stay with us.
Wow, field is really tight coming down for the start here. Once again, Dixon jumps out front, but the green flag does wave, and we are underway. The Apex Brazil green flag waves. Dixon jumps into the lead over Franchitti, and they're 3 wide in turn 1.
Look at the fan out there. Wow.
And look for sparks, of course. That is the sparks when the car hits the bottom, heavy on fuel on the bumps on the high side. Danica going low.
Franchitti challenges up top, but Scott Dixon will lead lap number 1.
Look at Danica going to the bottom of Castroneves. She wants the bottom of the racetrack. She's taking the sparks and the bumps, and that's a fast car.
Side by side, Elio and Danica Patrick as they move through the banking of turns 1 and 2 and down the backstretch. Now Marco comes up and goes to the outside of Danica.
And usually the optimum spot there is usually where Danica is down low. But sometimes when you're down low there, you got to have a little bit more steering input, and your car may wash up the track a little bit, and you got to get back out of the throttle. You got to work on the balance.
It's interesting because Elio was the one who told me that he thinks you could pinch somebody low to where they'd have to lift. Mario Marias on the right of the screen, Tony Kanaan on the high side. They're going to go side by side. Mario Marias on the left of the screen here is a guy who's been super fast all weekend. He had to grit up in championship points, but that car has been a rocket ship in practice.
And his owner, Jimmy Vassar, I saw after, I said, so tell me about some of those changes. He just kind of threw his hands up. He's like, all I know is we have a fast car.
Oh, yeah.
Good, that's a good summation.
Look at him go. I mean, he's already up to Danica.
More on Mario Marias from Lindy.
Mario picking up 6 spots on that start. He started 16th. He was a little upset at that because on 7, he has qualified in the top 7 on 4 of the 6 ovals so far, so he felt like he could have qualified a lot better than starting 16th. He was 3rd fastest in practice this morning. We'll see what he can do, guys.
Well, the great thing about a 1.5 mile speedway, if you have a good race car, you can always move up through the field. There's some tracks that are really difficult to pass on, but a 1.5 mile configuration, if you have a good race car, you can work your way to the front.
Scott Dixon turning laps over 216 miles an hour. We go back here and watch Wilson, Kanaan, battle for position. There's Ed Carpenter in that mix also. There's Danica Patrick, who's 5th. Thomas Schechter has been one of the biggest movers. He's gained 5 positions since the drop of the green flag.
And guys, some of the differences between the two Andretti Green Racing cars of Marco Andretti and Danica Patrick is during practice, they used the full assortment of their goodies. They had all 3, both the ramps, the extensions, as well as the C-scoops. Well, Marco's the only one running anything different right now. He does not have those C-scoops in there, doesn't want that added bit of downforce. I think more downforce as the night progresses is going to get heavier, and he doesn't have them on. That's the difference between the other 3 HER.
And maybe the trade-off there is it's great to have all that downforce, but it does create a little bit of drag. And you heard Tony Kanaan say earlier, he said, I just want to be fast. I don't necessarily need to have all that downforce. And those C-scoops, they're about 10 pounds of drag. That's what they say, depending on who you talk to. About 40 pounds extra downforce.
Everybody's running essentially the same package with the new aero changes, except just a few teams. As mentioned, Marco Andretti does not have the side pod extenders. Neither do either of the Ganassi cars, Dan Weldon or Milka Duno. Otherwise, everybody else is the same as far as the new changes allowed.
And I can also tell you, Kevin, some people have been using the overtake assist. Castro Neves has used it 3 times. So has Carpenter. Kanaan has used it twice. The front guys, at the moment, still haven't even pressed it.
Watching Tony Kanaan right on that rear wing of Ed Carpenter. Man, oh man. Up on the high side is Marco Andretti. Kanaan right behind Carpenter. That's Justin Wilson to the outside. Man,
so if we said we had to shake things up after Richmond and look at some side-by-side, I mean, for rolling into our first 10 laps here, it's great. And look to the right out of Kanaan's car there.
That's Justin Wilson trying to get the spot from Tony Kanaan. This is the 9th position. This is the 8th race that Scott Dixon has led this year. He's led since the drop of the green. IndyCar nonstop on Versus.
Welcome back. So fast and furious start then to the action at the Kentucky Raceway. Let's now go to my guest, and I'm delighted to say that Piers Maserati and Christopher Tate are here with me. Piers, let's get your thoughts first of all about this exciting new innovation, this push-to-pass button. We hear it's already been used in the opening laps.
Yeah, push-to-pass is operated by a button on the steering wheel. Lasts for about 12 seconds, and depending on what fuel mixture you run, it's between 5 and 20 brake horsepower, which doesn't sound a lot, but on an oval, it can make a big difference.
It is only for the 4 ovals, though, to come, isn't it?
No, the push-to-pass is actually for
Oh, that's going to be all 6?
Time, yes.
Right, yeah, it's the aerodynamics that are for the ovals, isn't it?
That's correct.
But what difference do you think it's going to make from the driving perspective? How do you view it? Is it a welcome addition?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly going to help on the overtaking. You'll see guys obviously using the push-to-pass to get past someone, but then you may see the guy they've just passed using it again, because you have to wait 10 seconds after you've activated it to reset.
And Chris, what do you make of overtake assist buttons? Are you all for this?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's been an important innovation. We've got to say there were a couple of oval races earlier on this season where, to be honest, the racing was getting a bit predictable.
And it did need it.
And it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that combined with what's happened on the aero front, some significant changes. But interesting, isn't it, as we look at that layer, despite the aero changes, despite the fact that they've had this opportunity to try and get the racing a little different, who's up at the front? The usual suspects, because they're the guys who spent the money and the time in the wind tunnel. Some of the less well-funded teams simply haven't been able to do that. Penske and Ganassi are out front, despite the aero changes, but it will make for better racing, and no doubt about that at all.
We've got fingers crossed as far as the weather's concerned, Chris, haven't we? Because we mentioned the weepers, but we want to see a dry race here, don't we?
Well, it's got to be, and it's come bucketing down in that part of Kentucky throughout this week, a bit like being in England at the moment. They're not having much of a summer either. The problem here is the way this circuit was built. It was built at the same time as Rockingham was being built in England, to exactly the same formula, sort of basically scooping out the bottom of a bowl.
Right.
And that's created here some problems with when it's drying out, the water is weeping through the tarmac, and that's what's caused the problem, but prevented qualifying happening at all. And they're just praying there isn't going to be any further rain and we will get away. We're into lap 17 of 200 already.
It's great stuff.
Keep fingers crossed.
Chris, thank you very much, and you too, Piers. Back with you later. Right now, let's go back to the action.
Wheel to wheel for several laps. This is Ed Carpenter and Tony Kanaan for 7th place.
And at the same time, Mario Marias is making a move up there for third. At the same time, this battle here between Carpenter, as you said, and Kanaan has been wheel to wheel for a while. And there's the move. He goes right around Dario, does Mario Marias.
That is a smoking fast car right there, Marias.
He started in 16th position and is now moved up to 4th.
Look at how he's able to keep Marias in front. You see how he could keep his car down low coming off there? Man.
And Carpenter goes to the high side of Danica.
Wow, he just left Kanaan. He said, you know, I'm tired of going wheel to wheel with you. I'm going to go after your teammate. Nicely done.
Wow.
It used to be that when you ran on the low side here, you couldn't pass anyone. Not today.
No, it's great.
To 6th.
Well, the Indy Lights race today was incredibly exciting. You know, there was guys shifting. One person would be leading, and the next lap they'd be back and forth. So if we get any of that, we've already seen that, we're in for a great race.
Yep. TK back in 8th. That's Marco behind him. And Danica ahead. So 3 Andretti Green drivers here battling for the same spot.
Initially, Danica liked the low line. Now she's kind of slipped to the middle and leaving that open for Kanaan to go right down to the bottom.
Thank you.
Great. And look at that. He got that done and is pulling away.
Yeah. 3 team cars right together. We know that Marco Andretti typically likes to run high, and that needs to rubber in a bit, and he's up there running high, but doesn't seem faster. Seems like the low groove is the way to go right now.
Yeah. And even with all the limited running time earlier, he's one driver that was pretty happy with his race car when he got out of that after that hour and 15-minute practice, Marco was.
And Ryan Briscoe has cut into the lead of Scott Dixon. The interval is just a little more than 1/10 of a second, or a few car lengths, as Briscoe's got a real run.
Ryan Briscoe, of course, dominated in Kansas, which is essentially the same layout with different banking. He just got himself in just a fraction of a second wrong position on a pit stop caution. But he's just hanging back there, taking some of Scott Dixon's air, saving some fuel. But boy, that car looks solid.
Going back to the start of the 2007 season, Scott Dixon has led 25 of 30 oval races.
That's a nice percentage to have on your resume, isn't it?
No kidding. Briscoe looks to the high side of Scott.
Yeah, and Briscoe, he's just sitting back there right now, just kind of sizing him up. He's like, I'm not necessarily going to go by. I'm just going to see where I'm a little stronger than you. I'm going to let you pull me around this racetrack. I'm just going to fool your mirrors a little bit and just mess with you.
If I was Ryan, I'd stay right there. As soon as I got a little bit of heat from behind, and also, I might actually stay right behind Dixon, because 2 cars running side by side will be slower than those that are running in a line, like right there. Those 2 cars will run faster aerodynamically. They need to help each other.
Yeah, and then what he does when he get into the corner, he just goes up on the top side to get in a little clean air. When they roll off the corner, pop back down. Look at the battle.
Battle for the lead on the left, battle for 8th position on the right, Danica and Marco.
Last time they had a side-by-side battle on an oval, they were not best of friends when it was over, but they've since talked that out.
And, you know, we heard that Marco has a little different configuration with what's available with these optional changes. He has got less downforce, if you will, than what we heard Danica has. But as you can see, all the other things that go in the car, some guys it works better for, and some guys it doesn't. And now he's alongside. Shorter distance around at the bottom, longer distance around on the high side.
That looks about 10 pounds of drag. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what the calculation is.
Boy, Danica doesn't want to give up that spot.
No.
She is on the bottom of the racetrack and taking it back from Marco. Very nice. Up front, it is still Scott Dixon with the slimmest of lead over Ryan Briscoe. You're watching the Kentucky Indy 300 from Kentucky Speedway on Versus.
think he's looking for a new set of tires when he goes for his first stop. Of course, they'll all get tires, but he was so fast, and now he's sort of backed up. I get the sense that maybe he wore them or used them a little harder than he wanted to, and now he's kind of just biding his time.
And again, we don't have a gauge since we had that limited time of an hour and 15 minutes of running. We really don't know where the tires are going in terms of where at 50 laps where that takes the speed. Does it take anything away or not? We're going to find out as we go through the race.
On board with Tony Kanaan. And still up front, Thomas Scheckter on pit lane.
He's the first box in right there. He's got a direct stop in.
We're going to disco the rear bar.
Disco the rear bar means disconnect the rear anti-roll bar. That would mean typically, Robbie, he must be loose.
And that is probably a lengthy stop. That's something you usually don't do under green, and he's not comfortable with the race cars. Well, that's telling me.
Woo! And they took about, 3 turns out of the front wing. So there's something wrong with Scheckter. And if you can do the rear bar, you have to take the cowling off to get to it. So that's a major fix.
But and to go to that extreme, Scheckter must have been yelling on that radio saying, this thing is loose. I can't put power down. I can't hold down. And usually somebody on the pit stand, in that case Matt Curry, would say, it's okay, just let's wait for a yellow. Well, they couldn't wait, and that's the result of it. And, he goes down laps.
Ryan Briscoe continues to run right behind Scott Dixon, who has now led 46 of 86 oval races in his IndyCar career since he entered the series back in 2003. On board with Ed Carpenter. That is Mario Moraes behind him. And there's Tony George from Vision Racing. You just really would like to see Ed have a good race because it hasn't been a particularly impressive year for him.
No, and, coming off of this road course run that we've had, that's not Ed's background. He didn't come up on that, so he's still on a steep learning curve when you're at those road courses. So to be back here on a 1.5 mile super speedway, that's his world.
His 2 best finishes this year, both 9th at Kansas and Texas, both 1.5 mile ovals. Stay with us for more on Versus.
So we will continue the action as far as the studio is concerned and watch the pictures. And Christopher, let's just get your thoughts. We were discussing earlier this business about the track and the weepers, and for 1 or 2 people who aren't still totally clear about what happened, it was in the construction of the track and the way it was done, in the way that it leaves possibly inherent weaknesses in the track surface.
Well, as we saw in that nice panning shot just there are great big banks all the way around this circuit. Sometimes you just build up the banks externally and then you have the grandstands. They actually scooped down and then built up the banks. So effectively what you've done is constructed a lake.
Yeah.
Now the problem with that form of construction of an oval is you leave yourself with the likelihood that it will be very hard to get the water to drain away properly. So it actually rests in the soil underneath the hardcore that is underneath the tarmac. The difficulty here is that if it's really as it has been, after rain continues being very humid and there's been a lot of rain and then the sun comes out, the water will weep literally through the tarmac, creating slippery conditions that mean you can't run an oval race.
Yeah, so it's going to be around for a long while. It ain't going to go away, is it? Anyway, now let's cross back to the action because we can cross back once more to Kentucky.
Scott Dixon and Ryan Briscoe continue to run first and second at the Kentucky Indy 300 IndyCar race here on Versus. And we have completed now 45 laps, coming down to complete 46. When can we expect to see pit stops?
Well, the window is open right now.
There's one now.
As soon as the window opens, Sarah Fisher decides to.
Right here, turn in. Hit your marks. Hold your brake. Reset your fuel.
You got to hold the brake so that you can get the torque on the wheel nuts, and they reset the fuel as a counter.
And I can tell you, if you're a guy changing the right or front left tire on there and your driver doesn't hold the brake, you yell at him after the race.
Now, we were starting to say she is in the window. So she would be in the window for a 3-stop race if it stayed green, but the leaders will go longer. I'm going to predict that Briscoe, as we see Matos on the early side.
Reset fuel. Wait. Go.
Good clean pit stop.
Oh,
look at this.
Some side-by-side.
Coming up on Robert Dornbos, and the leaders right behind him. What are they going to do?
Now, what's going to get really interesting after they sort themselves out with Dornbos, we are in the window. We think these leaders are probably going to come in, say, lap 50.
Oh, but Briscoe's slipping a bit
He's
high.
up. Is he hot? He's making it work still.
Yeah.
Wow.
Briscoe has the lead as Marco Andretti comes in.
Marco Andretti making the move. It looks like just a tire pressure adjustment, no wing, nothing else. And I think that's why he moved up early, is because they might have had a little bit too much pressure in those tires. And of course, they built pressure and that made him drop back. So the adjustment, drop it down just a little bit. Looks like his teammate, Danica Patrick's coming up next.
Oh, and we have a couple of guys in trouble, Marias and Conway.
I just saw when we looked at that, I saw Marias' car going sideways. I don't know what caused it, but
Mike Conway's collected him.
Lindy.
Yeah, I'm right here. Look, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Mario Marias, and Mike Conway are all involved in this. Right now, they're trying to get Mario Marias' car turned around. Mike Conway is heading the right direction, but the front of his car is completely torn up. They're trying to push him back now. They almost have Mario turned around to get him into his pit stall.
Meanwhile, here comes Team Penske down pit lane as both Elio and Ryan come in.
And obviously, Elio made a ton of ground on Ryan as they came down pit road there.
Here we are. 3, 2, 1.
Earlier you talked about Elio Castroneves using that overtake button. I talked to Tim Cindric about it, and he said, yeah, use it on the start only. Use it a couple of times. Dario Franchitti's been fighting serious understeer. He's been pushing in turn 4. They're trying to correct that and get things out there again.
And Robbie, Dario will be gone by the time you get here.
They went for front wing on Dario.
Straight in now, straight in on the border.
And Dixon has gone an extra lap. That's key. An extra lap is very handy here.
Looks like no changes would have been told for Scott Dixon. He pulls in and he did stretch out that extra lap. They had planned to do so all along, guys. You're hearing 48. They told me earlier 51 was the lap they were coming in.
And as we had all that craziness going on between the two Penske cars, between Elio and Briscoe, Elio actually stopped in his box sooner. That means his guys started to go to work before they did on Briscoe, but Briscoe beat him out. Great job on the 6 car for Briscoe and that crew.
Meanwhile, on the track, Briscoe and Matos are side by side. Sarah Fisher's up ahead, so is EJ Viso and Scott Dixon. So Dixon has the lead right now.
Maintains that lead. In laps, out laps are such a big part of this mile-and-a-half racing when everything happens under green like this.
Briscoe will go to the inside of EJ Viso in the 4th corner.
So you think Briscoe's going to get up there behind Dixon and say, okay, I'm just going to bother you a little bit here? Or you think he's going to try and go by him now?
One thing you certainly have to consider is the fact that you get points for leading the most laps, and 2 points can be very important in the championship.
Well, and we heard that Scott Dixon said he'd rather have 1 point than $10,000 when Lindy asked him that earlier. Well, this would be 2 points. But what surprises me, Ryan Briscoe followed Scott Dixon around for that whole segment, and yet Scott Dixon went 1 more lap on fuel. Wow, what does that tell you about Dixon?
Yep.
He knows how to make fuel.
While leading. How do you do that?
Dario and Danica are side by side.
And that was lap 52. We're talking about that when Dixon came in. It was lap 52 that he came in. That's great fuel mileage. Lead setting the pace, poking the hole in the air ahead of everybody else. That's great fuel mileage.
How can Briscoe be right behind him and not get better fuel economy? I don't get that.
That's the one advantage Briscoe has by staying behind him to get that fuel economy. Lindy?
Heartbreak for Mario Marias, guys. He sits in his car down here shaking his head back and forth at disappointment as the crew works around him. Right before he pulled in and had that incident, they asked him, Mario, how's the car? He said, this car is great. I can drive it anywhere. The young man's mind certainly a little bit with his father, who is hospitalized today and ill, and also his birthday. I'm being told right now there is some left rear damage. They say that they are going to tape up the hole, fill it with fuel, and get back out there. And we can see the replay of that incident right now, guys.
And it certainly looked to me as though Mario Marias was coming in where he needed to be, and it was at the same time that Mike Conway was lighting it up and leaving. And unfortunately, as he crossed in front, Mike Conway just let him have it.
And then Ryan Hunter-Reay was also another car on the inside there of Conway. Tough.
Well, he definitely had help. He didn't spin that on his own. He got center punched by Mike Conway.
Yeah, he didn't do that under braking getting in there, did he?
And it does put one of our fastest cars on the sidelines for the moment. Meanwhile, it's basically the same as it was before we had the round of pit stops. Briscoe chasing Dixon, but it's very, very close up front. Running back in third spot is Ed Carpenter.
Go Ed.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
There he is. With no cars between himself and the second place car.
Yeah, so let's just keep an eye on lap times, and let's see if he makes gain up on Briscoe as they run through the next 5 laps. I wonder if Briscoe just doesn't have enough to get by Dixon, because the 2 points for the championship are huge to lead the most laps.
Ed Carpenter was dealing with a little bit of understeer in 3 and 4, but they decided not to make any changes in that first stop. It looks like it's worked out. Fourth when he came in, fourth when he got out, he got by Castaneves on the track. Crucial to note, too, so many times we see somebody have a good run going on track, but then the non-Penske and non-Ganassi teams oftentimes lose some time in the pits. This time, he did not lose anything and has picked up another spot on track.
And part of why you don't want to rush to make too many changes on a pit stop when you have a good car, as Ed Carpenter does, is the track's changing. It's getting cooler. And so that means the track may loosen up or may go to more push. So you don't want to outguess yourself when you have a good, solid race car.
Elio is right on his rear wing, though. This is the battle for third spot.
But that's what Ed wants. He wants some help out there. So if he can hook up with Elio, the two of them work together, they can make more ground up on Briscoe and Dixon.
We saw quite a few sparks, though, from Ed Carpenter, meaning that when he's heavy on fuel, he may not be as comfortable. Now, Dario Franchitti had a bit of a moment here a few moments ago, got to the high side, got in the wash of the car ahead, and look at this. If you get outside where it's gray, woo-hoo, keep it off. Scary moment there as you go down gears for Dario Franchitti.
Franchitti currently running in 7th position. It is Dixon, Briscoe, Carpenter, Castroneves, and Kanaan, the top 5, with 64 laps completed at the Kentucky Indy 300.
Welcome back. We're going to go straight back to the action. As you can see, it's developing into a very interesting race. Lap 71.
Tonight, we're on the high banks of an oval Kentucky Speedway. The series heads back to the road course next Sunday, August 9th, here on Versus, 1 o'clock Eastern. The Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. It's part of Versus Red, White, Black, and Blue Summer. It is available on Versus HD. August 9th, the IndyCar race at Mid-Ohio. 2 cars running up front have dominated laps on ovals this year. Coming into tonight's race, Ryan Briscoe has led 463 and Dixon 396. That's a combined total of 859 of 1,400 laps on ovals this season. All right, Robbie Floyd has an update on Dario Franchitti.
I made my way down to the number 10 crew and asked them about that push and what was happening in 4. And they said, you know, in that first step, in that first stint, he was actually having that push up into the first 40 laps. Around 40 up until that pit stop, things started neutralizing. It was a lot better. Well, they did a front wing adjustment trying to give him a little bit more to turn down, but I guess he's still trying to fight that problem on the number 10. So he's pushing high, but it evened things out after lap 40 on that first set of tires.
Well, he's running wheel to wheel with Robert Dornbos right now. Robert is 17th. Dario is 7th.
And And he's had a couple more moments when he was trying to get by Doornbos where he got high. He got a bit of the wash from Doornbos, and if your car is pushing in, you get in that wash, man, it's like, look out, wall.
And if you had that happen to you a couple times, as it has for Dario, you're just not as willing to charge hard into the corner and run that high groove, because all of a sudden you may lose the front and go up top. It comes back to confidence is king for these drivers on these super speedways running, 217 miles an hour lap after lap.
He is in his 6th race of the year. Will Power running in 10th position. He was a winner, of course, last week at Edmonton. He finished 3rd at Toronto. He was 5th at Milwaukee, 2nd at Long Beach, and 6th at St. Pete. Quite a year for a part-time driver.
And according to our data, he has yet to press the overtake button. So if they keep working on that car, assume their strategy is, let's keep working on it, get it what we need, and save everything for the end.
Which is a little to the plus side for his strategy, because we heard from Will Power early, he's like, well, back where I'm starting, I'm really going to get after using that button. So hasn't had to do it to this point.
Jan, as you just said, you're right. Will has not chosen to use that overtake button that he has access to. He's very happy that they picked up a few spots when he made that pit stop. He just said over the radio he really loves the feel of this car right now.
And we'll leave that momentarily as we go up for the battle for 3rd. Ed Carpenter and Elio Castroneves. These guys are about 2.5 seconds behind the lead 2.
Yeah, and it looks like, this is when we kind of focused in on these guys after the first round of pit stops there. They were running right in this order. So that means they're just pretty happy working in sync there, just chugging away. Obviously, Ed's not slowing up Elio. Elio knows I can't blow by him and help him. So this is where they're sitting for the time being.
Guys, about 10 laps ago, Elio got on the radio and told Tim Cindric, tell the 20 team that I'll work with him. So I think Elio is content to ride along right now and see if they can make up some ground on the leaders.
There you go.
Yep. And, when you're sitting behind somebody, as he's sitting behind Carver, he does a better job of conserving fuel. He may be able to lift off his throttle a little bit, use the draft to Carpenter pull him around. And if you don't use as much fuel, that's to your advantage.
And the reason you tell the spotters and you work together is you want Ed Carpenter to be confident that someone's not going to dive in and try and take the position from you. All of a sudden you go, hang on a minute, I have a partner. You would drive a line, you wouldn't worry about being defensive. You figure out, free up my car and let's see if we can catch these leaders if we work together.
No, great point. Unless you want to just say that in the last 10 laps and say, hey, I'll work with you to catch the lead guy, and then just mess with him with 2 laps to go.
All bets are off.
Has that ever happened?
Yes.
It happens once.
Yeah.
And then, but it is a big deal, because now Carpenter doesn't have to always be looking in his mirror, saying, oh, do I have to protect that? Do I have to watch him? He's not going to do it.
Will Power moved from 10th to 9th, and therefore Graham Rahal moved from 9th to 8th. He is right behind his teammate, Robert Doornbos. Graham Rahal running in the 8th spot. And his best career finish on an oval at Richmond, and he goes to the inside of his teammate.
We're going to be working together, but I'm going to be at the front pulling you around, Robert.
Finished in 3rd position at Richmond, Graham Rahal. Winner on the road courses, looking for his win here tonight. Sir Jackie Stewart is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. We'll hopefully talk to him in a moment when we return to Kentucky.
So, another break. It's lap 86. We will continue with the words here in the studio and bring you the very latest as it happens. This is a very interesting race, Christopher, and we were talking a moment ago about Ed Carpenter. Never had a better finish than 5th. He's going pretty well this time.
Yeah, we were just saying, Piers had observed that he was 8th quickest in the one little practice they did have earlier on today. when they could get out on the track. Unusually good performance, both the car and team. And Ed's doing a cracking job. I mean, he's in front of Castroneves. You can't argue with that.
Absolutely. And Piers, as far as you're concerned, what did you make of that incident we saw briefly between Mike Conway and Mario Moraes? That mess up, really, in the pit lane.
Well, I'd like to see it again, but
we'll get a chance hopefully later.
It looks like Conway was released, and just as he was released and came out of his pit box, Moraes was just turning into his pit box, and unfortunately had it coming together. So,
well, here you are at the top of the screen. That's what happened, and that was all rather unnecessary, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Moraes is just coming into his pit stall, and Conway's been released. So
that's a better angle. Look at that. I mean, that could have been very nasty.
Yeah, the pit crew was very lucky. They were as quick to run out of the way as you would be, but yeah, I mean, I think it falls on Mike Conway's fault or his team, actually.
Fine, let's think about rejoining the action. How do you see this race panning out, just briefly, Piers? Who's your potential winner, just briefly?
I think Dixon, still.
Okay, fine, let's see what happens. Let's go back to Kentucky.
Kentucky Speedway. We're on lap 89 of 200, and right now it's Scott Dixon in the lead in the number 9 Target Chip Ganassi car. But if you move a couple of pit boxes down, you will see Jackie Stewart, 3-time Formula One champ, looking over Roger Penske's shoulder. You offering him any advice?
No, he knows it all. He's been around as long as I have, and he's the master here. I'm just glad to be here, but it's been a very clean race so far.
What do you think about it? Do you think Ryan Briscoe has anything for the number 9?
Well, I think they're not pushing very hard right now. They're more concerned with fuel than they are with speed right now. I think they're in real good position.
Once a racer, always a racer. Do you ever get that feeling that maybe you could go out there and give it a shot?
No, I'm old enough to know better.
Thanks a lot, Jack.
Yeah. Well, he gave us a little bit of the strategy, too, that they're not pushing too hard. They're saving fuel. So thank you, Sir Jackie, because that's kind of what we thought, that he'd be riding behind trying to save some. Earlier, I said, how can Scott Dixon lead and go farther on fuel? Remember we said in the very beginning, he told me, Jan, I'm trimmed to win. Less downforce means better fuel economy.
Yep, great.
By the way, Sir Jackie Stewart turned 70 in June. That's hard to believe. There's some guys that you just idolize and have since you were growing up, and he's one of them for me. Briscoe looks pretty racy here, coming up on the outside of Dixon.
Sir Jackie said, that's enough saving fuel. I want to see some action here. Let's see if we have something for Dixon.
You think he tapped him on the shoulder, Roger, on the shoulder, and said, come on now, get busy. I just was teeing something up to the TV guys?
Well, I hope we don't jinx anything here, but the average speed of the race so far is 211.857. Kentucky is the site of the second fastest race in series history. That was 2003. The average speed was 197.9. The fastest IndyCar race ever was in Fontana, California in 2003, 207.1. So we are on record pace. Let's hope we can go the remainder of the distance without a caution.
Now they're starting to catch up to some lap cars. So if Briscoe decides he does want to go towards the front, you can start using lap cars to get a tow and be aggressive. So he'll have to make his move if he's going past other cars, use them as a pick, as it's called. He doesn't want to get left out of the draft. This could get good.
And what's a big tool for the drivers with using some of the lap cars is that's where your spotters come into play. Your spotters can kind of give you a read of where the guys that you're coming up on, like right there, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Where is he running out there? Where does he like to go on the racetrack?
And it's going to help him. Here he goes. It works.
Side by side for the lead as Briscoe has got a slight advantage on the top side of the racetrack. Look like they're going to split Hunter-Reay as they go down the backstretch. Still wheel to wheel.
Elio's had him a little bit going in there, but as they come off, we'll see.
Briscoe is going to lead at the line by a few inches. This is what the IndyCar Series fans have been wanting. We don't have big packs, but we sure are seeing side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel battling.
Hideki Muto is the next car in line. We'll see who that helps.
We're
We're getting very close to the halfway point here tonight, and that's one of the strategies that we've been watching. Make sure that you're in front in case the weather comes. Now, we're not sure what's going to happen here at this point, and all the teams are telling me that it's not impacting their strategy, but they're all aware of the weather coming. It's going to rain at some point, but nobody knows when right now. So everybody's on a holding pattern, going with their race. They'll keep an eye on this radar, and it still could be a factor before we're done.
Man, these guys just continue to pound away on each other.
And we're already into that second pit stop window right now.
Yep, Marco Andretti, in fact, is in, so is Hideki Muto. And we have reached the halfway point, 100 laps down, 100 to go.
Is this great at the halfway point? This is what we want. We want these guys side by side all night long, because what that does, it allows everybody behind them to come on up and play with them.
Ed Carpenter's laid out.
If history repeats itself, that means that Dixon would go 2 laps longer than Briscoe, because he would go 1 lap longer per stint.
Yep.
So we'll see if that holds true.
Now, Briscoe led that lap. If he's trying to lead laps, that's a really hard way to do it up on the top side of the racetrack, beating Dixon back there time after time.
Ed Carpenter pits, Kevin.
Great run so far for Ed Carpenter. They told him you need straight in and out laps. We're inconsistent right now to potentially make this a 3-stop race. 52 on this end. Carpenter in and out and just barely misses Graham Rahal as we see a battle up front again. Robbie Floyd?
And Dario Franchitti, we've seen what's been wrong with his car. He's been pushing. You see a front wing adjustment, both sides up front, and he's off again with sticker blacks on the Firestones. Now Scott Dixon's crew setting up to come in very shortly.
So Dixon has used a little more fuel if they're setting up for him. Dornbos on his way in.
The battle up front has broken off as Dixon has entered pit lane. Here he comes.
So Briscoe has gone farther. They've switched.
Yep. This is when Briscoe has to take advantage of this his in lap right now. Really busted out coming down pit in through turns 3 and 4.
Down to Robbie.
And now he set a new set of black Firestone Firehawks going on. Throwing all 4 on, no adjustments whatsoever, making sure they get a full load of fuel. As I look behind me as Scott Dixon takes off, Ryan Briscoe's crew setting up. And to back up what you were saying, I had talked to Roger Penske just shortly before I took to Sir Jackie Stewart, and he did say that everything was fine. I think they were biding their time, no problem.
Don't clear.
Mike Conway is in the grass.
Straight in. Keep coming right here.
They stay green.
Briscoe in.
So that's where Briscoe had to make time, coming down on pit in on the inside of 3 and 4 as they come down pit road. Robbie, you're there?
Yes, I am. Ryan Briscoe's crew setting up. And it looks like they have their R3s. It looks like their number 3 set of Firestone Firehawks going on as well. Ryan Briscoe, you see the fuel man holding, waiting. No adjustments once again for Ryan Briscoe. All's happy in the Penske cab.
Elio Castroneves comes in.
And another movement for for Elio Castroneves. They told me beforehand that he was not going to have any kind of adjustments for Elio with the number 3.
Elio slowly down pit lane. He's finally there, Robbie.
Not talking too much, though, but again, going for 4 tires, no adjustments whatsoever. So we'll see how long it takes to dump that fuel. That's the last thing they waited for, and the 3 is now on.
Meanwhile, on the racetrack, look who's running together again. Briscoe just ahead of Scott Dixon. Oh, yeah.
So obviously, we saw Briscoe always hounded Dixon, and sometimes when you get this close race, you say, I'm just going to wait till pit stops happen and see what happens with in-lights and out laps, and Briscoe now is leading Dixon.
Yep, but by not very much. 106 laps completed in the Kentucky Indy 300. It's Briscoe, Dixon, Carpenter, Kanaan, and Castroneves.
Well, we are now on lap 108 out of 200, and as Chris Tate pointed out just a moment ago here in the studio, we haven't yet had a yellow. There's been plenty of incident, but Chris, astonishingly, not a yellow.
Yeah, it is unusual, isn't it? Because, of course, the fracas in the pit lane, and indeed then poor Mike Conway's run across the grass there, meant that the officials didn't need to throw the yellow, and here we are. And importantly, we are now past the halfway point now. So if that rain does come, we have a race result, which is good news for the championship and good news to these guys. But this is being run at a furious pace and with no interruptions at all so far. Let's hope it stays that way.
It's really exciting stuff. And Piers, when you look at two drivers, as we've seen, locked together, virtually wheel to wheel all the way round, I mean, that's such exciting stuff, but potentially, of course, hugely dangerous.
Yeah, there's a couple of occasions there. They were very, very close, and we were commenting here how close they were. And Briscoe's now made his move after half distance, and he's trying to pull away. But these cars are very, very evenly matched, and it's still very difficult to pass out there.
The adrenaline level must be pretty high when you're racing at these speeds, doing what these guys are doing right now. This is really good, fast stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's incredible actually to keep focused at this speed, and between these two guys is very close, so it's very intense at the moment. Yeah.
And Chris, we're still fingers crossed about the rain. We saw that radar, it didn't look too good, but at the moment, as you say, if it had to be stopped, the result would stand and we'd be okay.
That's right. Obviously, we hope we're going to get the next, whatever it is, 88 laps yet to run. But we will have a result now, so that is important. And it's important for the way the teams are thinking about strategy. One thing you did notice just then is that their second stop meant that both these two front-running cars both did 55 laps. That's a long way around here.
Absolutely, but we're hearing they think locally there may be rain within the next 30 minutes or so, but of course an awful lot can happen in that time. And as you say, we're well into this race anyway, so thankfully we will get a result if we need to. But let's now go back to the action, shall we, and rejoin it and see what happens.
Having the 14-degree banking to help you around, you come down to the flat, and usually it's a little dustier and dirtier on that pit road, but if you're too cautious, you're going to give it away. So, I mean, you really have to challenge it, and it's something you only come down 3 or 4 times, and it's not always under green conditions.
Let's go down to Kevin Lee, who has a report on Robert Dornbos.
They couldn't get the right rear off. The drive pins were balled off, and then once they did get it off, they couldn't get the tires secured, so they eventually have shut off the car. He's been in here for many, many laps, and they still have not addressed this situation.
Coming off a 9th place finish at Edmonton, Dario and Danica are side by side. Up ahead, Wilson and Viso are wheel to wheel. Now Viso is a lap down in 17th position.
Yeah, now Danica has to say, what am I going to do? I see Wilson and Viso side by side. They're not given. Where am I going to get through there?
We saw a last pit stop for Dario. They added yet more wing. That's 2 pit stops where they cranked in front wing. This is where he had trouble before. He'd push in traffic. I think it's getting better.
Dario currently 7th.
Another tool that Dario has on board that may help him adjust with that. He does have a weight jacker that takes weight on and off that right front tire. So if the car's pushing a little bit, he can take a little weight off that right front to help it turn more.
But as bad as the car was before, Robbie, I have a feeling he might have gone to the max setting on weight jacker because he was really struggling and then needed more help come to the pits. And hopefully if you get enough help in the pits, then you can put your weight jacker back to the middle setting so you have something to work with.
Yeah, then you have a tool you can go plus or minus with versus having it maxed out.
Here comes Danica underneath Wilson.
Wilson is 1 lap down in 13th.
But it was that traffic issue that Robbie was talking about. She found a way through.
And I think, Dario, you're absolutely right. The fact that he went by that group of cars on the high side means that he's that much more confident with the feel he's getting with the race car. Because like I say, if the car sometimes all of a sudden is heading up the racetrack, as we saw Dario go earlier, you sometimes don't just challenge it up on the top side as much as you'd like to do.
4 Andretti green drivers running in the top 12. Tony Kanaan is in the highest position among them, 5th. Danica 7th, Marco 10th, and Hideki is 12th.
That surprises me for Marco because he acted and looked very confident after the one and only practice session. He got out and, maybe he has a slight vibration.
Something does.
That'll slow you down.
How'd that go again, Robbie?
Did I do that? I got to put my mouth guard in.
Okay.
Actually, this track was so bumpy. Prior to, like I say, they ground almost a third of this racetrack prior to this event.
Yep.
The NASCAR race they had prior to this, there's a joke going around that all the drivers were wearing mouth guards, because it was that bumpy. And for those guys to say that, and those big cars with the amount of travel and suspension they have, just think how it'd shake your eyes loose in one of these bad boys.
Watching the battle for 6th spot. Dario on board here, and Danica is right there.
Pulling up alongside.
Now remember, Dario...
Outside. Still there.
Yellow.
Yep.
Justin Wilson's on the pit entry lane.
Electrical.
Electrical, did you hear that?
Get in here, we'll do a standard service. Tires, fuel, and then we'll get side pods off.
Okay, there's standard service, which is the normal routine for Wilson, just to get fuel and do the tires, and then they said we're going to get the side pods off to see what's going on with, that's where all your electrical boxes are on those side pods.
Blow up and what's pull? I don't know, something binding up. Copy that.
Something binding up.
Well, the pits are closed right now while the pack forms up behind the pace car, but it's our first caution of the evening, and it comes on lap 123. Now the pits have been opened as Johnny Rutherford has the pace car at the end of the backstretch. We'll see the cars peel off and head for
look at the glow on the muffler right there. Look at the glow right in there of the temperature of those exhausts.
So are they going to come, or is this a fool?
Why would you come?
Well,
if you're in that lead group, you're going to have to make another stop.
Well,
here they come. It's because you want to be covered, but you don't have to, and you'll be forced to make an additional stop now. But here comes the whole group.
Yep.
Monkey see, monkey do. They just gauge off the leader.
And Carpenter's Vision crew goes to work on the 20 car. Down to Robbie.
And right in pit out, Scott Dixon again throwing on a new set of Firestone Firehawks. No adjustments. They're happy there. I turn to my right. I see Dario Franchitti, a full load of fuel, a new set of Firestone Firehawks, and he's back out again. No adjustments for Dario this time.
And Castro Neves picked up a spot. So Scott Dixon, you could see the two Penske cars get out there ahead of Scott Dixon. So he's lost a little bit of track position. Things going nicely for Team Penske right now.
Yeah, and when you say why, they still have to make another stop. When I said why would they stop? But the one thing this does, it opens their window up if there is another yellow in terms of when they come.
There were some cars that did not come in for a pit stop. Hideki Muto and Will Power among them. We'll take a break under caution here at Kentucky Speedway. Has won the Indianapolis 500.
I didn't know if it was white flag that time or the checker flag. I saw a flag coming, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hold my arm here, because if it is the white flag, I'll wait, but if it's the checker flag, I go for it. And when I passed, I saw it, but my arm is still like down, so I don't know why. I just like, oh yes, I won. And man, it was a great feeling. Because I was so excited when I did that. I started pouring the milk and throwing, so I'm not sure if I started another way, but I tell you one thing, there is no feeling in the world, as like winning Indy 500, so I'll never forget it.
And of course, Elio has added 2 more Indianapolis 500 victories since then. He's a 3-time winner of the 500 and has 2 wins this season. Texas, in addition to his Indy 500 win. Currently in 3rd position behind Will Power and Ryan Briscoe. Now, Will Power did not pit, and so he stayed out and is now the leader of the race. And Elio only got fuel, right?
Yeah, I like that. I like that move by Will Power, and I also like the idea. There's Castro Neves not taking tires, and he gets right behind Briscoe and says, see ya there, Scotty.
And why we like that move, what Power did, is because everybody still has to make another stop. So what a great move for Will to get track position. His window when he's got to stop is smaller than those other guys. But hey, everybody has to have at least one more stop.
Green flag.
Wow, look at Dixon.
Look at Dixon on the inside. Man, he got around Elio and nothing flat, and so did
Look at the run, Carpenter. Look at Carpenter.
I think that Dixon's letting him go back by. I think he realized that he jumped the start, and if you make it good, they won't pull you out of the game.
Yeah, and race control is confirming that.
But how about Ed Carpenter? Look at him up in second spot and challenging the leader.
Hey, I want to lead this thing. Oh, look out! Look out!
No!
I don't think he didn't get in the wall. He was in dust putting it up there, but he didn't touch. Do you see any white donuts on the outside of his wheels?
Wow, they stayed green. They must not. If he rubbed, they would have gone yellow.
Wow. Good job for Ed Carpenter forcing some issues there.
Hey, and Kanaan is looking for third on the high side of Scott Dixon.
That was very uncharacteristic. Scott Dixon to jump a start like that, have to give it back. Look at Ed Carpenter. He wants the lead.
Sure does. He's going to the high side down off of the second corner. Here's a replay of what happened to Ryan.
Oh, there was the right rear. Did you see that? It put a little bit of black mark up there, just ever so slightly.
He's fallen back to 8th position.
All right, so here he goes.
Look at Briscoe. Yep. Just painted a little bit.
Yeah, and Elio lifted because he thought he was going to crash, and then Tony Kanaan says, "I'm not lifting. See ya."
And there's another guy that didn't lift, the 20-car Ed Carpenter.
Yeah, that's right.
Low momentum.
Now, Carpenter has used his button 6 times, power only 3.
Yep. Here we go down to Lindy Thaxton again.
Justin Wilson no longer in this race. I thought I heard you say over the radio it was like the engine shut off, like you lost power. What happened?
Yeah, it turns out it was the wheel bearing. The right rear wheel bearing gave up, and just going down into one, it just slowed down. It wouldn't accelerate, and brought it in the pits, and you could tell it was gone. So disappointing end, because we weren't the quickest car out there, but we're a lot stronger than we have been. The car balance was good. I felt we were having a reasonable day. We could have got some good points, but that's how it goes. So we'll move on to the next one.
Justin Wilson, thank you. Kevin Lee?
As Will Power tries to hold off Ed Carpenter, and Carpenter looks to the high side, Will is at some point going to be thinking very soon about his future. He wants a full-time ride next year, but knows he has a great situation. He told me this week that if it was offered to him, he'd almost certainly take a part-time ride with Penske again and Grand Am races or something along those lines, rather than a full-time ride somewhere else.
We got some good stuff going on here. Carpenter trying to get the lead from Will Power. Now with Will leading these laps, Scott Dixon has clinched the 2 points for leading the most laps here tonight. Boy, Carpenter is trying everything he can, isn't he?
But he's closer now than he was. If he can manage to keep that, because he seems faster off of turn 2.
We understand they're telling Ed to use that button, but
here comes Tony Kanaan.
Yeah, how about that?
And that's what you love to see, is when you get those lead cars side by side, creates a great opportunity. Right there we see with Dixon and Kanaan. Look as they're coming up there. The rule changes are working.
Yeah, but one thing I don't think we mentioned, I know we talked about it yesterday on our show, you can use the push to pass button defensively the same way you can use it offensively.
Oh, yeah. If you see somebody coming and you think you need to defend yourself, that's a good time to use it. And as we speak, Carpenter's down to 10. He's used it 10 times now. So the team told him to use it. He's using it.
Yeah, that's to get to the lead.
And that's why it's good to say overtake assist. You can see that he doesn't rocket past Will Power. It just gives him a little bit of a boost.
Going back there, you see Castro Neves. They were saying the 3 in front of the 9 for that start. So you see Castro Neves coming past Dixon there. That was because of that start. So they're just correcting that on track right now.
Down to Kevin Lee.
Most teams were saying that they were going to leave it up to the driver when to use the push to pass. But Will Power, leading much of the time during this battle, has been reminded you can use it in the fence mechanism. Great battle here as Carpenter pulls up again on the outside.
Wow, inches apart at 215 miles an hour. And now Danica is trying all she can to get around Dixon back in 5th.
And where Ed's car looks really good is rolling off of turn 2 here. When he comes off of 2, it seems as though it just accelerates up there, but it's just not enough to keep it rolling through 3 and 4 and do the same thing.
1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. There they are, wheel to wheel and side by side. You won't miss a thing on IndyCar non-stop on Versus. We have 141 laps completed. Power and Carpenter battle for the lead.
Well, this is really exciting stuff, isn't it? 142 laps done, 200 to do, of course, so we are getting towards the closing stages of an enthralling race. With me here in the studio, Piers Maserati and Christopher Tate. And Piers, this is a terrific wheel-to-wheel racing, isn't it?
It's incredibly close. Carpenter's really closing in on power a lot. A little bit too aggressive at times, but we've got 6 or 7 cars now for the lead, and it's extremely close.
Chris, you were making the point, as so often happens when you get 2 guys at the front in this wheel-to-wheel thing, they tend to sort of mess each other up, and it allows the others to get back in the race.
Yeah, and it creates a real aerodynamic effect, and the 2 of them running side by side creates that hole in the air that allows the 3rd and 4th people, if they're the distance they are, to close up as they've just done. The front 2 had pulled out a bit of a gap, but I agree with Piers. Ed Carpenter has, shall we say, limited experience of running at the front. This is his best ever position on that track in an IndyCar race, and he is looking a little ragged in order to hang on there. Plus we hear that the rain may be coming. I just wouldn't want to be Will Power at the moment the rain arrives and I've got Ed Carpenter around the outside trying to do that to me.
But we understand that Ed has had, I think, 3 5th finishes at best, but I mean, this is new territory for him, isn't it? And he's doing brilliantly, but there's always that but.
It hits a whole new world for him, and look who's just behind him. I mean, you know, he's got Castro Neves and Kanaan right there. It's all going off. Interesting, the Ganassi boys have just slipped right out of it at the moment. Scott Dixon down to 6th and Dario down in 9th. So clearly it's something's not, different set of tyres not worked for them, whatever it might be.
I did get the verdict from Piers as to who he thought, and he went with Dixon. Who are you picking maybe to? I know it's nearly at the end of the race, but come on, let's have a thought.
Oh, I'll stick with Elio, I think.
We shall see. Thank you very much indeed. More from you in a moment. Right now, let's go back for lap 148 about to start.
Hard to keep up with all the action out there, but this is the way it should be, oval track racing in the IndyCar series. Will Power leading Ed Carpenter slightly, running back in 3rd position is Elio, and then back in 4th we've got Kanaan and Dixon side by side.
And they've been doing that for a while, but absolutely the way it should be. And it's not just for us up here watching it, for the fans at home, for the fans here. This is what these guys want. This is just the energy that gets them going, just the lap after lap. This is the game. This is the challenge.
Now, of course, we saw earlier where Scott Dixon had to correct a jump start. If we stop it right here, you can see there is a mark on the wall right here that's the restart mark. So go ahead and let it roll. And you can see that Scott Dixon got there before the restart mark on the wall. That's also something they can do electronically. You'll notice he backs off and lets Carpenter go by, but later they wanted Castro Neves to go by also, so he had to correct that.
Remember, Will Power, who's in the front, did not make a pit stop when we had that caution period, so he's going to need one before long.
Yeah, I would think he last pitted on lap 101.
And so he can go to 159, so he's got 10 laps in the bag, and he'll have to hit pit road.
Lindy.
I'm being told Will Power plans to come in and pit guys on lap 155.
All right.
Which is still it will get him to the end, but he'll have a full fuel fill, whereas other people, if they pit later, will have faster pit stops.
But he still improved his track position. Still a great move.
I still like the move. Yeah.
I mean, all you're talking for him to do a full fuel versus other guys is 1 second.
Now Ed Carpenter is falling back into the clutches of Elio.
Well, and maybe for a reason here is Power. He's running light on fuel. He's trying to gas it as quick as he can just to give himself a little bit of that gap, with him knowing that he has to be, coming in the next 4 or 5 laps. He's doing everything he can just to eke out that little bit that can make the difference.
We know that Ryan Briscoe so far is the leader, at least what we had graphically, for in and out laps, and so they'll be doing cheerleading, saying, okay, Ryan has set the mark, show us what you can do.
Yeah, and remember, in power for being part-time this year with Penske, remember how challenging it is when you come off that 14-degree banking onto the flat in turn 3 and having to challenge yourself there but not make a mistake. It's tough.
The other issue is that if he pits when no one else does, he doesn't have a very good pit selection because where he is in the points, it's all ranked by points. So he actually doesn't want to pit at the same lap as everyone else because he gets stuck in the traffic. So he'll pit all on his own, and that pit position makes not as much difference.
Yeah, he's going to have a clear box getting in and a clear box getting out.
We have had 5 leaders and 14 lead changes. 23 lead changes, the most we ever saw at this racetrack. The average speed right now is 198.6 miles an hour with the caution. Ed Carpenter has been among the leaders, and it's only the 3rd race that Ed has led in his IndyCar career. 3 laps last year at Indy, 1 lap this year at Texas, and here tonight.
And talking about power, just laying down some laps, he almost ran a full mile an hour faster than Carpenter that time. And look at that. There is Will Powers, guys, setting it out.
Yep.
Getting the tires ready.
And will he go down? Yeah, looks like he's down under the line.
Right there is where that tough area is. He's on the flats. It's dusty and dirty there. It's even a little darker as you come down through there.
And there's no speed limit until you see the bright green cones, which come right there.
Nice and easy, nice and easy. Next pit. 3, 2, 1. Hit your mark,
Will Power out with a mechanical issue in last year's race here. A different story this time. He says this car feels perfect.
Okay,
he has asked for no changes, just fuel and tires, and he is out in 9.8.
Reset fuel.
So Power is good to the end of this race there. It took a little bit longer, 9.87 seconds. Not real long, but they had to get that thing full of fuel.
And that will be the difference. You probably see some 6 and 7 second pit stops by the leaders when they pit, which is why they decided to pit under yellow earlier.
Yep. So they got more fuel in the tank when they come in for that last stop. Part of the strategy in the games.
As the rule changes made for better racing, well, we've had a total lead change for the year before tonight of 74 lead changes in all the races. That's an average of 6.7 per race. We have had 15 lead changes tonight. Most of them have come under green flag racing conditions.
And Ed Carpenter out in front. Looking to our list, he's used his overtake button 11 times, so he's still got some left.
Tony Kanaan working with Ryan Briscoe for 3rd.
This is what it's supposed to be, Bob.
Yep.
Right here.
This is what we've been waiting for.
Great. and we really got to commend the track. The drivers have been able to run 2 and 3 wide here. So it was very, very bumpy before. They did a great job only a couple weeks ago grading this track and taking some of the bumps away to give us this type of side-by-side racing.
Now, when Will Power came into the pits, you heard on the radio John Erickson say, next pit, next pit. That's because Sarah Fisher, also a yellow crew, Dollar General, was set out. He had to quickly make a juke, change it. Remember, Will Power not driving every single race. You see yellow fire suits, you're like, that's going to be me.
Don't you think that's funny? You just had made the point of saying, hey, isn't this great for him? He's going to come in when there's nobody else out there, so it's an easy in and an easy out. And it could have been any other car down pit road, but no, Sarah Fisher on the Dollar General yellow that looks like the Penske truck yellow. Oh, man.
Ed Carpenter has a 1/10 of a second advantage on Elio Castroneves. Kanaan is 3rd, Briscoe 4th, and Graham Rahal at Kentucky Speedway.
Up at Dixon, and you pointed out, you're like, look, he's starting to wiggle around a little bit. So obviously he's lost a little bit of that happy balance. He'll get it back, but it can change quick.
Kevin Lee
A lot of it's going to come down to this final pit stop and how quick they are. And keep in mind that some teams are going to do a short fill, probably around 175 to 180. Ed Carpenter's coming in, by the way, in about 6 laps, and expect many teams to go without tires. Now, some went without tires in the last stop, so they're probably going to need them. I don't think you can go 100 laps on one step, but Carpenter is definitely one that is going to go without tires on the final stop. These are his 5th laps and mounting led in his career. 4 laps led in his IndyCar Series career going into this one, and he has finished 5th 3 different times. Great night for Carpenter, and the crowd is growing here in the 20 pits.
And Kevin, I just did the calculation while you're talking. If they stop in the next 3 or so laps, you're only going to need 3.7 seconds worth of fuel. So therefore, it's all going to come down to changing tires, or maybe at 3.7 seconds you don't bother, and you just take a splash and go.
Exactly, and that's what Carpenter's thinking. They're not going to take tires, but we know one guy that's going to have to take tires is Elio, because he just did a splash and go last time. He didn't take tires.
Well,
unless you think,
like Kevin said, unless you want to run the whole thing.
No question about it. Firestone makes a tire from the beginning of its life to the end of it an incredibly consistent tire.
So at 30 laps to go, you'll need 13.1 gallons. And every lap that you do longer than that shortens that pit stop. Again, under 4 seconds of fuel.
The Menards Vision Group laid out for Ed, but he continues to be at speed on the racetrack, completing 173 laps now.
Great to see him leading this pack around Kentucky.
Ed has stretched his advantage to over a second, which is huge compared to what we've seen tonight. Graham Rahal is having a great race tonight.
And look, there's Graham just going up high, and there's Dixon coming back by him.
Hey, he got back,
and Franchini's going back the other way. So the rules, this is what it ought to be. This shifting around back and forth, I mean, this is making it challenging for these guys and exciting for everybody up here.
The top 8 are running right together on the racetrack.
Keep bringing her, keep bringing her.
Carpenter pits.
Attaboy around the corner here. Watch your speed right here. Pit in. Okay, you're doing wide open in. We're going to be going on tires. It's not a full fill. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, in.
It's likely the most important pit stop of Ed Carpenter's IndyCar Series career. They are going to change tires, but it's a short fill, and under 7 seconds, Carpenter is back out and hoping that this race stays green.
Kanaan is pitting.
What a great stop, and you heard him say, we're going to go off the tires. So as soon as the tires are done, he was out of there.
This is Tony Kanaan's 7th time at this track. He won here from pole position 2 years ago. I am told he will get no changes to this car. He is just getting tire and fuel, and as we see, they're not making any adjustments to the front or rear wing. And he will be out of here in just 7 seconds.
So someone is going to roll the dice and just take fuel, because you're going to save yourself about 3 seconds if you don't, because every lap that ticks off, you need less ethanol to go into the car.
And don't forget how challenging it is, as we just saw Kanaan go out of pit out, and there he just merged up. He's on cold tires that I have no temperature and pressure on them, and that's a challenge.
Here comes both Penske cars.
Well, Scott Dixon just took off just a moment ago. They had tires set out, but that was just a fake out. They just dabbed in fuel. Now both Penske cars again. The tires are set out as Dan Weldon pulls out just the front, so they're going to have a clean shot at it. But both Ryan Briscoe will be in front of Elio Castroneves, and they are set up to change tires on Briscoe. You knew Castroneves had to do it. I asked Tim Cindric about it. I said, you can't stretch them anymore, can you? He said, no way. Briscoe's out, and just followed shortly by number 3 of Castroneves.
And Robbie, I think, I'm not certain, but I think Briscoe might have caught the air hose of his teammate. It's worth taking that when he came in and made that tight turn, I saw a little boom, boom, and that was either just a little bit of the concrete, or he might have caught that air hose. Of course, that, if they saw it, if they saw it, could be possible penalty.
But here's what we want to see. This is green stop action, so where is everybody going to cycle on back out on the track right now?
Danica Patrick has not pitted, so she's shown as the leader right now. Danica Patrick is the leader. And now Ed Carpenter reassumes the lead. Carpenter, Kanaan, first and second. There they are. That's how close it is for the lead. And we have a little more than 20 laps to go in this Kentucky Indy 300. Stay with us for IndyCar Nonstop on Versus. Welcome back to Kentucky. Look at this. They're the first four running right together on the racetrack. It's Carpenter and Kanaan leading Dixon and Briscoe.
So now the game has changed a little bit. We got 15 laps to go. So where do you want to be with 1 lap to go?
Yeah.
Where are you strong? Where's Kanaan strong? Where's Carpenter? Where's he strong? You want to sort things out, and now you want to play the game to say, where do I have to be when that white flag drops? Do I got to be in the lead, or do I want to be 1 back, or 2 back, or on the high side, low side? And that's great if you can figure that out. And then getting your car to that point, that's a whole nother game.
If it's me, I want to be leading. I don't think that someone can give, I don't think there's enough of a slingshot if you're in the lead in turn 3 to go flying by start finish. I think you got to make your move going into 3.
I'm with you. The lead's a good place.
There's some places you don't want to because the draft is strong enough to where you lose it.
Yeah. Unless you're side by side and your car rolls off the top of the 4, and we've seen it at the Chicago track a lot. We've seen them side by side, and the guy on the high side just nips the guy on the low side as they cross the line. But that's the games you need to figure out right now, is when you are side by side, how does my car roll off of 4?
Briscoe's taken second momentarily from Kanaan. We've got 4 different teams running in the top 4 right now.
Use your overtake every lap now, every lap.
But where do you use it? Ooh, look at that.
Oh, because there's a 10-second recharge. It's not like you can't just hold the button down. You have to do it for 12 seconds, and you have to recharge for 10.
Yeah, but where do you want that 12 seconds of overtake?
One thing is that earlier, Carpenter now and Briscoe have 7 pushes each, whereas Kanaan has 13.
Yeah.
Push, 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 push.
But you got to be impressed with Ed Carpenter. Win or lose tonight, he has been, well, the star of the evening as far as I'm concerned. He has just driven a magnificent race.
And that's when the team clicks, when the driver clicks, and it works this way. This is what you want to see. You want to see an Ed Carpenter Vision Racing and an opportunity to win this race.
Now Briscoe will try for the lead on the high side of the racetrack. Off of corner number 2 and down the backstretch. Ryan Briscoe takes the lead.
But Ed's on the low side and he's going to come back.
Tony George watches his stepson.
Wouldn't that be something that, after being relieved of his position at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, he said he's putting all his focus on Vision Racing, and now you've got a chance to win this thing, duking it out with Team Penske and Andretti Green Racing. That's the way you want to do it.
That's good stuff.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Top 4 right there.
And as these two guys, again, go side by side, as Briscoe's looking on the high side of Ed, it's going to give a shot here for Elio to get a little closer and Kanaan to get a little closer.
7 laps to go. Carpenter and Briscoe.
Tony Kanaan is the leader of the person who has saved those overtake helper pushes. He's got 13 of them.
That's good, yeah. Helper pushes.
Overtake assist.
Okay, now it's time for Elio and TK to get up there into that front row. Now they need to shake it up.
I think the teammates need to work together. Team Penske, if they go nose to tail, they might be able to pull it off because 2 cars will go faster in a line and get after Carpenter.
Again, but when do you want to do it? They know they can maybe do that now, but hey, just roll.
Oh, there goes your wingman.
Way up high.
Sorry about that.
He falls back to 4th. Carpenter tries to get the lead from Briscoe. will come down and complete 196 laps, 4 to go. Will Ed Carpenter win his first ever IndyCar Series race? Or will it be Team Penske, or will Tony Kanaan back there in third play a factor?
Don't give up the bottom of that racetrack, Ed. And Briscoe's looking in his mirror. Hey, where'd my teammate go? Where'd my helper go?
Yeah, he has fallen back. Now there are 4 laps to go. 4 to go.
Did you see where Briscoe was at the start-finish line that time on the high side of the racetrack?
3 laps to go now, less than 3 as they go down the backstretch.
If you're Ed Carpenter, you want to work Briscoe a little higher. You want to leave a little room on the bottom of the racetrack and let him slide up just a touch. And see, that helped? That worked.
And see where, let's look at the start-finish line. Briscoe's getting a little edge off of 4. And like you said, push him up, force him up a little bit as you get into 3.
Less than 3 miles of racing to go, a lap and a half now. And Briscoe inches ahead, but Carpenter will not give up.
And Briscoe doesn't have any overtake button pushes left. Carpenter has 2.
And they come down to get the white flag. 1 more lap to go at Kentucky Speedway. Wheel to wheel through the corners. It's Carpenter and Briscoe. They go off the second corner and down the backstretch, and Ed has just a slight advantage. Look back there, however, at Kanaan and Elio Castroneves. They're battling for the 3rd spot. They come off of corner 4. Ed Carpenter has the advantage as they come off the corner at the line. It's going to be Briscoe.
Nice job, babe.
Wow.
Great job, Ed. Great job, Briscoe, setting that up. Man.
Sir Jackie Stewart, what do you think of that kind of racing?
Robbie Floyd.
Safe to say, pretty exuberant pit crew you have here. Did you think when you ran out of those push to pass, do you think that Ed might be able to get you?
Well, I think, we really had a good run there, and Briscoe drove side by side, and both guys were professional. They gave each other a lot of room, and I take my hat off to Carpenter. What a great job. And of course, Briscoe needed this one. He's been second, so great day for us.
It's been a long time since St. Pete ended.
That's a great day.
Kevin Lee?
Ed Carpenter's wife, Heather, is here. You must be very proud right now. What were these final 20 or 30 laps like for you?
It was very nerve-wracking. I'm so proud of him. He deserved that. It's a long time coming, and I'm so glad it's here.
What a story. What a story for Ed Carpenter and the Vision Racing team. A second-place finish, best ever for this team.
The fireworks are going off, and Ed Carpenter has pulled into the pit area, and man, he has a lot to be proud of tonight. Our scoring says it was 0.08 of a second, the interval, 81 thousandths of a second. Second fastest race in series history, averaging more than 200 miles an hour tonight, 200.8. Fastest ever was 207.1 at Fontana. There's Ryan Briscoe. He has won here at Kentucky in an absolutely incredible evening of IndyCar racing. We'll be right back on Versus.
And welcome back. What a race we've just enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We'll be talking to my studio guest in just a moment, but what we're now going to do is cross back to Kentucky and hear from the key figures, including, of course, the race winner and the runner-up. So let's now go back to the States.
Well, we can all breathe a sigh of relief because the race is over, but it was exciting. The Izod Victory Lane interview with Lindy Thaxton is with Ryan Briscoe.
Ryan Briscoe now the points leader ahead of Scott Dixon by 8, ahead of Dario Franchitti by 11. Lots of cheers from the crowd here, and as we heard Roger Penske say, Ryan really wanted this. He has been second. Ryan, come on over here. Talk about how tough those last couple laps were.
It was tough. Tell you what, I don't know if I was imagining it or Ed Carpenter's line was getting wider and wider every lap, but I knew that it looked like every lap I'd get the edge on him across the start finish. So Roger was in my ear too. He was just saying, just keep what you're doing. You're getting better off turn 4. It was getting harder and harder because Ed was getting wider and wider, but unbelievable. That was a fun race. That was
and as we're taking a look at that entire final last lap, talk about how these new options played into your race.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if it's for the options, I think it clearly made for some good racing tonight. I got into trouble a couple of times, went wide off 4, dropped back, but it was great because I was able to come to the front again, make some passes. There was a lot of racing out there, so pretty intense.
Did you use the overtake assist a lot?
Yeah, I was using it as much as I could. I was looking at my lights on my dash more than anything the last few laps there, making sure I was trying to get everything out of it. I might have had a few left still, but I could tell when Ed was using it too, and it's a bit of give and take.
You're taking a look right there at that finish. What's going through your mind right at that point?
50 points, baby. That's it.
Ryan Briscoe, congratulations.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Ed Carpenter has his best finish in the IndyCar series as we feel a few raindrops start to fall. Were you thinking about rain at all after that last stop?
Yeah, once we cycled through in the lead after the last stop, I was ready for rain or whatever, but just trying to run as hard as I could, stay up front. Just have to thank my mom and Tony for giving me this opportunity, and Menards, Johns Manville, Lilly, Cardio Check, everyone that's involved, William Rast, for the races they've been on with this. It's been a tough year, and I was hoping this was going to be a breakout race, try to get our season turned around for the rest of the season, and could have just asked for one spot better is all.
Take me through the battle with Briscoe. You said on the radio, I never thought I'd be this close to one of the Penske cars.
Yeah, it was fun on a mile and a half running that close to a Penske car, and we ran side by side. I'm not sure how many laps there at the end of the race, and he was pretty much beating me to the line every time. There was a couple times where I beat him to the line, and I was playing with my push to pass, trying to time it just to somehow beat him to the line. I actually used my last push to pass on the last lap, so I managed those fairly well. But I was trying to run him wide, make him go the long way around, just to make it a little harder. And he was trying to pinch me down. Neither of us were going to lift, and it was close. It was close. Hopefully we can get that next super speedway.
What's this do for Vision Racing?
It's great. We've had a tough year. Last year at these mile and a halves, we ran the top 5 pretty much all of them, and this year we just haven't had it going. And we got our heads together. Going into this, we did a tire test at Chicago a couple months ago, and we've really been looking forward to this race and the schedule. But it's just good. The guys did such a good job in the pits for me today. They were as perfect as they could be. Just to stay on pace through pit cycles and green flag stops with Penske and Ganassi. The guys should be very proud of themselves. They did a good job, and it's just great for morale. I've always known I can win one of these, and getting that close, now I absolutely positively know I can win one of these races.
You were one of the drivers that was very honest and said we need to do something to improve the racing. Safe to say this worked out pretty well?
I hope the fans enjoyed it. I had fun anyway. I don't know how much was going on behind me, but my car was handling so well today, and I could put it anywhere. It was great on restarts, and hopefully everyone enjoyed the show. There's more side-by-side racing than we had at any of the other mile and a half. So, as soon as I saw the first bulletin that went out when they made these changes, I called Brian and thanked him because we needed it, the fans needed it, Versus needed it, everybody that's working so hard to grow this sport, we needed to be putting on better races. So, Firestone did a great job as well. The tire here was awesome.
Nice job. Thanks for the show.
Thanks.
Tony Kanaan with his second best finish ever here. He won back in 07, but he had the best seat in the house other than out in front, TK. But you had a great seat in front. What was happening in front of you?
If I was a fan, I had the best seat. But, they got pretty wild. 9 to go. They were measuring themselves. And 4 to go, it just got really crazy. And that's when I kind of lost ground a bit in Helio. And then I started to fight with Helio. And I did not want to get side by side with Helio because, third or fourth for me right now, I just wanted it to finish, and I managed it. But, it was we're getting there. I mean, the old IRL, it's back on the super speedways.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I mean, it's hard to believe that back at Indy you were the series points leader. How good does it feel? That was the last time we'd seen you have a top 5. Was just before that.
That's the last time we talk after the race.
No, we've talked much since then. How does it feel though that the tiki torch was lit tonight?
I mean, Robbie, it's always good. It's the morale for the team. I mean, we work really hard, and you know, we're having a tough season. But the way I look at it, a really difficult season would be if I was out of the car watching somebody else race. So we're turning it around.
Let's talk technical for all the gurus out there. You had one little problem though, gearing just a little off. Let everybody in on it.
We kind of didn't have enough time to practice, so I choose to go with a taller fifth. The night went on, and we actually gained some downforce, and my gear was we go until 10.3, 10,300, and I was at 10.1 the whole time, so I could not use the push to pass because the push to pass only works from 10.3 on, and I could not get as close as I wanted it. But I have to say, after the last 4 races, I'm okay with third.
Looking good. Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Robbie. I am joined by the president of competition for the IndyCar Series, Brian Barnhart. And Brian, from our point of view, it was a great race. Tell me what your reaction is.
Well, I would agree with that, Bob. I think we were very pleased with the changes and the product we saw on the racetrack tonight. I hope the fans enjoyed it because it certainly felt like the IRL was back, as Tony Kanaan just mentioned there. And, you know, it was kind of what we expected and hoped for. And at the same time, it wasn't a surprise because they were known entities that were putting back on the race car, and the guys all did a great job on the racetrack.
Can you, at this point, really digest what might have been the biggest help in terms of creating the better competition? Or was it a combination of things?
I think it is a combination of the things because I'm not sure you'd ever be able to know that because not everybody used the same things. Because the tire ramps and the side pod extensions and the wheel infills are all optional, you don't know who had what on, so you couldn't pinpoint one of them. And I certainly think the push to pass, the Honda overtake button was a big help with that. I thought it was interesting listening to TK's comments with his gearing, and that's probably a byproduct of not having a lot of track time with what we had here, 75-minute session before the race began, and the guys struggled with the gearing a little bit, and I was kind of curious looking at the graphic afterwards, wondering why TK had so many pushes left on his butt.
That's why. Can you tell whether or not we may make more changes, or are we good now for the rest of the year?
Well, I think we're always open to it, and I think the most important thing is, you know, again, whether it's good or bad, you don't want to make a knee-jerk reaction, and while certainly what we saw tonight was very good, you know, it's going to be doing our due diligence, and we'll talk to the teams and the drivers and continue to get feedback from them. We're always open-minded about what we need to be doing. It certainly worked very well here at Kentucky Speedway, and, you know, we'll go back to a road course next week at Mid-Ohio and then follow up at Infineon, and then we come back to another 1.5 miles at Chicagoland. But we'll be talking to the drivers and the engineers and get their feedback on it and see if we need to tweak anything.
And one thing we have to mention again is the fact that these drivers and teams came into this race tonight with a very limited amount of practice, which really added to the whole mystique going into the event.
Well, it really did, and it kind of shows you can do an event in one day in 75 laps, but right away you saw that Ed had a real good car in the 20 car tonight, and I think Ed had a breakout race. That was as good a race I've ever seen Ed drive.
Absolutely.
The team did a great job cycling through the pit stops, and they stayed in front and kept that lead for him. So overall, there was a lot of exciting aspects to it, even with the pit drama and making sure the pressure on the teams and performing on pit road, because in the last segment there, we had the top 9 cars running within about 1.5 seconds, and one little hiccup on the pit road would have cost you a lot of positions. But Ed was able to maintain his lead, came back out, and then the last 10 laps were quite a shootout with Ryan.
Well, on behalf of race fans, and that's what I am, thank you for the changes because it was great here tonight.
It sure was, wasn't it? The Meijer Indy 300, and really what an eventful race. I hope you enjoyed it at home as much as we did here in the studio. In just a couple of minutes, we'll be getting the reaction from my studio guests, Chris Tate and Piers Maserati. We'll be also looking back at what was a really eventful race. So stay with us. We'll take a short break. Back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. It has been a really eventful race, hasn't it, in Kentucky? And there's our winner, Ryan Briscoe. Deserved celebration for him, but what a finish between him and Ed Carpenter. More on that in a moment from my two guests. And let's start with Christopher Tate. Chris, what a great finish. What a great race.
Yeah, I think as Brian Barnhart, the boss of competition for the IRL, was just saying, those changes have worked to the cars, but the drivers put on a show, and the track worked, and luckily the rain held off. So we just had that was just terrific stuff.
And it was obvious from what both drivers said, they were aware of the problems, and that, as you said, they did their bit to contribute to a fantastic entertainment.
Yes, I have to say, having been rude about him on and off screen, Carpenter did run a good race. That was bold stuff to hang on in there. He was surrounded by 3 extremely experienced men from the top teams, and he hung on in there. And second, what was interesting was when we saw him getting out of the car at the end, he didn't look as though he was jumping up and down and going, great, I'm second. He was going, damn, I didn't win.
Piers, it was a terrific race, wasn't it? What I want to do actually is go back through the race. We'll have a look at certain key moments. And early on there was a lead change involving Ryan Briscoe when he went past Dixon. And I mean, it was a very eventful race right from the start, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very close here. I mean, they got a little bit of traffic here, I think, with Dornbos ahead. And Briscoe was trying to make the pass for quite a few laps, actually. You can really get the cars close now to each other, but it's still very difficult to pass that last few horsepower you need, and he just made it through there getting the draft.
You were saying throughout that exciting closing stage you thought any moment there was going to be a big incident. Thankfully there wasn't, but it seemed like there had to be.
Yeah, it was very, very close, and Carpenter and Briscoe very close for the last 10 laps, and then Ed was moving him really out wide at turn 3 and 4, trying to force him out of the throttle, but Ryan was keeping it flat.
Mike Conway had an eventful night. Sadly didn't come to much, but we saw that early incident in the pit lane involving him and Marais. It was a bit of a mess, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah, it remains something of a mystery there. It looks as though his crew chief had called him out and hadn't seen who was coming in, and it really that could have been a very, very nasty incident. And then things didn't go well for him thereafter, and he faded towards the end.
Yes, and astonishingly, it was a race that had virtually no yellows. I mean, it was allowed to develop, and we saw a proper race.
Yeah, we had one yellow for some oil on the track or whatever it was, but it certainly wasn't anything very significant at all. That's great to see clean running that long on a 1.5 miler.
Yeah, we had some real interesting moments. Hunter Ray, in fact, at one stage, I think, with Dixon and Briscoe either side of him. I mean, there were moments when they were all so close.
Yeah, you can see here that they go either side of him, and well, they just about make it through.
Just about, but there were moments, weren't there, when you thought, there had to be contact. I mean, in fact, I thought there was at one stage, but you said if they had touched, we would have seen certainly more than that.
Yeah, we certainly would have. Very, very close.
Look how close.
Yeah, and they're not the closest moments of the race, but they're getting pretty close there now, going into turn 1 and 2.
See, Piers, as a driver, had said earlier on, David, while we were watching that, that you've just got to trust the guy next to you so much.
Yeah.
And one thing about this fairly intensive schedule they have in the IRL is they are racing against each other every weekend, and they get to know who to avoid and who they can trust to drive like that.
There was one moment, wasn't there, Ryan Briscoe very nearly lost it and went into the wall. We still don't really know how he managed to save it.
Well, he was a lucky boy, because once you get up there it goes grey, there ain't no grip at all up there, and he just slid along the wall. And they say there was a faint rubbing mark on the safer barrier at that point.
That must have been a very anxious moment for the driver. He must have had a few worries.
Yeah, he was incredibly lucky there. I think he was just hoping and trying to put a little bit of steering input into the car, but not too much, because the car would have broken away.
Chris, let's just briefly move on. This is a very exciting stage of the season, but of course next year promises to be even more involving than this, doesn't it? Because there's exciting things happening.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, just this weekend the IRL have announced the 2010 schedule, and it's going to be really quite interesting.
And here is that schedule, and looking forward to next March, Christopher. Brazil, TBA. I mean, it's so exciting to think of this IndyCar series in Brazil.
That's right. It's going to be a replacement really for the end of season in Australia, and this is a great chance. Not yet decided where, on one of 3 Brazilian cities, street course. Also new in there is the Barber Motorsports Part 1 in April, which is great news. And then in due course, a couple of other changes, some races shuffled around. No space for Milwaukee, no space for Richmond, and no going back yet to either Cleveland or Road America. So a lot going on. 3 night races on the ovals like we've just seen, and if they're all as good as the one we've just seen, it's going to be good stuff.
And in the back half of the season, this is interesting stuff too. It all finishes with 4 ovals in a row, and concluding in Miami on the speedway there.
Yeah, so that's going to be a great run into the end of a complex championship next year, and with slightly more road courses, plus the Brazilian one, it's going to be a proper test and balance across all sorts of racing, ending with the 4 ovals.
And when you look at that, Chris, overall, a good, bright future for IndyCar in 2010.
Yes, 17 races is quite ambitious, you know, in these difficult economic times, but it should be a nicely balanced championship by the time we get to the end of 2010.
Terrific, guys. Thanks very much indeed. Well, IndyCar returns next weekend. It's back to the road course at Mid-Ohio. Join us next Sunday for the Honda Indy 200 at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, 10:30 p.m, Sky Sports Extra. But before all that, there's more racing from the States later today, because tonight the NASCARs are back in action. That's at Long Pond in Pennsylvania. We're live for the Pennsylvania 500 from Pocono Raceway. Join us for that at 7 p.m. on Sky Sport 3. So in the meantime, my thanks to Christopher and, of course, Piers for keeping me company here. It's congratulations, though, now to Ryan Briscoe and Team Penske. We'll leave you now with the best of the action from Kentucky. Goodbye for now.
More sport, news and views at skysports.com.